Good afternoon, good evening. Buenas tardes, buenas noches. My name is Abelardo de la Peña Jr. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications with La Plaza de Cultura y Artes, welcoming you to En Casa con la Plaza. En Casa con la Plaza is La Plaza de Cultura y Artes, our virtual programming since April of 2020, more than 175 sessions strong. If you're on Zoom, please welcome. Join us on chats. Let us know where you're viewing from. You can use the Q&A feature on Zoom to ask questions. We'll take them after the conversation. Those of you that have joined us on Facebook, thank you as well. Welcome for joining us. Let us know where you're viewing from as well. We have the comment section right there. Ask questions, make comments. We'll take them towards the end of the conversation. A little bit of update of La Plaza de Cultura y Artes, the cultural center located right across the street from Olvera Street in downtown LA, which I know you've grown to love. Anyway, La Plaza is open. We've been open since April 15th, but starting next Monday, we return to our normal operations, ladies and gentlemen. We will be open from Wednesday through Monday. So that's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday from noon to 5 p.m. No need to make reservations. Just come on in. We will be asking people to please wear a mask for our galleries, the first and second floor. The staff will be doing it as well for the time being, just to keep us all safe. But don't worry about social distancing. You could come as a group. If you want to you could also make group reservations if you'd like. Go to our website, lapca.org, and any questions, all the information is there for you to be able to come and enjoy our exhibitions. One of the exhibitions that we currently have, Only Light Can Do That, a neon art installation by Patrick Martinez. You don't even have to come into La Plaza to enjoy that one. It's 33 neon art signs located on our windows facing Main Street. You could come by day or night and they are beautiful. So that will continue till September 5th. And then finally, we announced today our public programming. We're back in the saddle again with outdoor programming at La Plaza de Cultura y Arte starting on June the 17th with the showing of Carlos Almaraz, Playing with Fire, a documentary on the life of the iconic Chicano artist, and who currently we have his work on our second floor gallery, Carlos Almaraz, Evolution of Form, which I know many of you have not seen, which I know many of you will enjoy. So come on down and check it out. We will also, of course, be showing the documentary outdoors on July 17th. You can catch all this information on our website, lapca.org, and on our Facebook page at La Plaza LA. So with that, every other Friday night, we have with us the fabulous Dan Guerrero enjoying a happy hour with all of us. So please come on up and join us, Dan.
Where am I? There I am.
There you are.
You know, I just got off a plane a few hours ago, and not that it was a big deal, the plane, but I was up at 5. And so our guest tonight, our poor little thing, I promised to wake up any minute, and it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine.
Well, tell us, where were you, Dan?
Well, it was a quick flight. Luckily, it was Sedona, Arizona, at the International Sedona Film Festival, and they honored our own Luis Valdez for Lifetime Achievement in Film, and also my other amigo, Bob Mackey, for costume design in film. And so I did conversations with each of them following. We did a 35th anniversary screening. The festival did, of La Bamba. And then Luis and I did a whole conversation. That actually Zoomed on, I think, Tuesday. And then I flew to Sedona for Bob Mackey, and Funny Lady with Streisand. And then we did a big, long conversation. So it was fun, but it was exhausting. And I'm elderly gentleman, so I'm a little, but I don't want you to worry. I don't want you to worry. It's going to be good.
We're not worried at all, Dan. I know you may have had a very busy week, but this is a happy hour, so let's get happy.
There you go. And we have a wonderful guest tonight, so I'll see you in a little bit. You'll do your magic with our photos.
All right, thank you.
My guest tonight is a filmmaker in every sense of the word. He's a writer, a director, and a producer. And in his own words, and I want to get this right, his films explore human spirituality with undertones of magical realism. I am so there. So his latest flick is streaming on Netflix in the top 10, by the way, top 10 of their film catalog there. And we're going to talk about it. It is aptly titled Blue Miracle. So please welcome, zooming in from Austin, Texas, Julio Quintana. Julio. Hey, look at you.
Hello.
As I said to you when we did this, you look, you should be on the other side of the camera. Were you ever an actor? Did you not start as an actor?
Oh no, I don't have enough feelings. I think I don't know. So, no,
you don't have that disease. You mean?
No, I don't like. I don't love attention that much. So.
Well, I don't know that it's attention. I think it's sometimes hiding behind characters. So who knows? It's very complex, but we're glad we have actors. And how could you do your films if you didn't have actors?
They do the magic. Yeah, I just point the camera at them.
So that's a very pithy statement, and it's beautiful. And I want to know if you can elaborate a little on that, because the films you have done absolutely fit in that genre, if we can call it that. So tell us about how that weaves into your films, which are absolutely exquisite. We'll talk about them.
Yeah, I think. I think in both films, you're kind of always trying. I mean, really, like truly, you're trying to capture some sort of interesting little human emotion, and so what I found is like kind of the fun of dealing with actors is that you write something, you plan it out, you block it, you think you know how it's going to be, and then great actors like Martin Sheen, Dennis, Jimmy Gonzalez, all these guys, they always end up doing something you don't really expect, which is always really fascinating because you kind of have like a sort of two-dimensional idea of what these people are on paper, and then when somebody brings a whole lifetime of experience to the project, it's always fun and surprising and exciting, so.
But that's why it's very much, as all the arts, it's a collaborative. It's teamwork. We all need each other, and each feeds each other, and they bring something too that you hadn't seen on the page, and then you direct them in some way and open up something for them. That's the whole deal. But spirituality and that whole thing obviously is I shouldn't say obviously, is kind of a theme in your life, because you were at the University of Texas at Austin, and you took religious studies, which I read in some interview that you found rather confusing and frustrating. So I don't know what you were looking for and what you got or didn't get.
Well, I was raised in a pretty religious family and kind of devout Catholic childhood. And so when I went to school, I started in mechanical engineering, and then I switched over to religious studies, thinking that I thought I could use academics to kind of get to the bottom of a question that nobody else has been able to get to the bottom of anyways. So, but when you're 19, it seems like a reasonable goal. And then, sort of the more you study comparative religion, the histories, you realize they all have pretty good cases for themselves. And so then it becomes less and less obvious which, if there's one in particular that's more or less true, and it becomes more starting to see some of the similarities, the threads that we've not just through them, but also through mythologies, through fables, to things that we use to kind of structure the morality of our society. And so that became, I think that became more like The Vessel is sort of about, when I wrote The Vessel, I was fascinated by the fact that people could have these near-death experiences and wake up from just their heart stopping for 30 seconds, and they seem to have more things figured out than I did after years of trying to study history. And and so it was sort of to me, as though sort of a superpower, like a near-death experience of enlightenment. And so, but that was really more, that was a movie that I wrote right as I was kind of finishing up those studies, and I felt like there's a lot of questions that I was disillusioned with the fact that I didn't get any answers, and then I started shifting over to just pursuing questions for the sake of the question itself, not so much for trying to find a concrete answer. And I think that that's what that movie kind of reflects, and that's why it's a lot more open-ended maybe. And that's just sort of been, that kind of curiosity has kind of followed me through, whatever I happen to be doing. So.
And do you find in the films that you've done, and we're going to talk about a couple in particular, you've done many, but two in particular, the stories, you think you're going to find some answers in them, because they're the couple we're going to talk about tonight were both based on true stories, and both are very spiritual, and you wrote the beautiful script and directed them. So are you hoping to find answers in your own films, maybe?
Yeah, I think so. So Blue Miracle is based on a true story. The Vessel, it's sort of inspired by things that have happened in the past, but more or less it's a fictional story. But they are both based on things. I tend to take themes or ideas that I don't know the answer to. So the Blue Miracle is more explicit just by the nature of that genre. But it's questions about what does it mean to be a good father? Is it better to be how much do you give up of your goals and aspirations in order to be there for your children? How much is that good or bad if you don't pursue your dreams in order to just be there for the soccer games and all that? And so for example, in that particular, I have 3 kids under 6, and my wife also produces my films, and so Marla produces my films, and so we're juggling a lot of different things. And when we didn't have kids when we made The Vessel, but we did have 3 kids when we made Blue Miracle, and it was very difficult. And we had help with my parents, and we had a nanny, and we had all kinds. But you still feel like you're neglecting them for weeks and weeks at a time. Of course. So then I basically took something I was struggling, a question I had, put it in the mouths of my characters, gave them opposite worldviews, and you do sort of inevitably learn things just from watching them hash it out, And I thought, for example, when I wrote that film, I thought, for example, that Omar, the main character, he believes you shouldn't pursue, like, kids don't need trophies and whatnot. They just need a stable force in their life. And Captain Wade, who's played by Dennis Quaid, believes that you should aspire to accomplish your highest goals, and that's what inspires your kids in other ways. I thought when I wrote the film that Omar was all right and Captain Wade was flawed. I thought his worldview was wrong, and then over the course of the movie we would learn that. What I realized at one point was, there's a moment where Captain Wade says, if you want to teach those kids to be losers their whole lives, that's your problem. I don't want anything to do with it. Well, I didn't write that line. My line was similar to that, but I didn't say anything about teaching them to be losers. And when he said that, when Dennis just improvised that, I realized at that moment that I was Omar, and then maybe like after The Vessel, for whatever I thought I was going to accomplish or things that I was going to do, because I didn't do those, I had adjusted my goals or my idea of what success was. Then I just focus on the experience and just enjoy it and try not to. And I realized at that moment I wasn't aiming for the fish, or I wasn't aiming for the trophy anymore. I had sort of like pushed that off as something that wasn't worth pursuing. And so that actually impacted me. So just the nature of having other human beings, other actors who bring their own experiences, and other producers and people with ideas, and having them all kind of chime in on an idea that you're personally, kind of wrestling with, you can't help but sort of glean some sort of life lesson out of it, because it's just like an experiment with your own ideas. So
give our folks tuning in a log line of the plot of Blue Miracle. Dennis,
Blue Miracle,
sea captain, yeah.
Yeah, Blue Miracle is based on the true story of an orphanage in Cabo San Lucas that when their orphanage got hit by a hurricane, they're about to lose their orphanage. They got let into the world's biggest marlin fishing tournament, and then so they end up going out with the guy Omar, who runs the orphanage, and Captain Wade, who's this crusty 2-time champion, and the general formula of those kind of. He's the crusty champion who takes out. He doesn't want the
old
kid.
curmudgeon. The old curmudgeon.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's the dynamic. And so basically, Dennis Quaid and Jimmy Gonzalez play the two two principal characters that kind of battle it out on the boat. So
he's a wonderful actor, and he does have such heart. You know, he brings something very specific to his roles that are very heartfelt. We have a couple of beautiful photos from the film. You saw the one with Quaid. We have one of, well, that's not it. We'll get there. There you go. That's gorgeous. We'll talk about your cinematographer later, but there's one of the kids in the orphanage. And then we have one of the, look at that. That's absolutely beautiful. And then there's one of the race, the actual race. That must have been some bloody shoot, for God's sake. Whoa, not Sheen yet. Tell me about shooting that scene. Holy moly.
Well, so what we did was, this is, like I said, it's based on a true story. So when I went with Marla and my brother, who was the drone operator and the BCam operator and the underwater operator. But we went out to Cabo San Lucas and we filmed drone footage of the actual tournament. So that shot there was, that was just us getting drone footage of all the real boats taking off on the actual day of the tournament. And then we went to the Dominican Republic and we created all the close-ups down on the water to splice with that. So it looks like they're driving in that huge crowd, but they're not.
Clever. You know, your film career reads, and I'm sure it wasn't quite that simple, but it reads like you were on the divine path from the first moment, you know. With The Vessel, the Martin Sheen played a priest in The Vessel, which is also a beautiful, beautiful story. And it's based on a true story as well, similarly, right? We have a photo here of Sheen, I know. Yeah, tell us about The Vessel and how that came about, and about your mentor, Terrence Malick.
Well, so I was working on the Tree of Life. I was actually interning on the Tree of Life as a kid, and my wife and I were both working on it. She was.
Were you already married? You weren't married at that time?
Yeah, we were married. Yeah,
you were.
Yeah, we got married at 23, right out of school, and so we're about 26, back in 2008, I guess 25 when. She got called to work on the Tree of Life, started as an intern, and then ended up being Terry Malick's assistant and the post-production coordinator. I started as an editing intern under Daniel Resende, who edited City of God and things like that, and Motorcycle Diaries. And so that was an amazing experience. And then when I was done, whenever Daniel left, I just started shooting things for Terry and shooting like the natural history portion stuff. I had bought one of the original Red cameras, and so he invited me to come to like there's all their special effects shoots for the space portion of Tree of Life, and he just had me doing little experiments, shooting bubbles, weird little light leaks with pieces of glass in front of the lens and things like that. And but as I was doing all that stuff, I was also talking to him about my writing. I had him read another script I had written. I don't know why he agreed to read it. I'm not sure he did read it actually. He said he liked it, but who knows? And I was talking about The Vessel, and I remember I had been thinking about Martin Sheen for the role because I knew he was a devout Catholic. I thought maybe he'd want to play priest. And I knew his grandparents were Spanish, so maybe he would have an affinity to the material. And Terry knew him because of Badlands. And so, but I didn't tell Terry that. I just told him the subject matter. And he said, oh, who you should talk to is Martin Sheen, because he had a near-death experience on Apocalypse Now.
Right.
And
a heart attack, right?
A heart attack, that's right. And so I wrote the script. I spent a year and a half, almost 2 years writing it, but Terry, every time I see him, he's like, let me know when you want to talk to Martin Sheen. And when I finished the script, I gave the script to Terry on a Friday, and he sent it, and 2 days later, I got a call from Martin Sheen saying he wanted to do it. So yeah, when I describe it, it sounds like it was just sort of an easy path, but it doesn't feel that way looking backwards, obviously.
Of course, that's what I'm saying. It seems like, oh, he just sailed through. I'm sure.
Yeah. And it was funny because as soon as we got that, I remember the whole time it was like, as I'm writing, you write it for 2 years. Like as soon as I just gotta finish the script, and then we're gonna get a movie made. And we just got as soon as we got Martin, we're like, now we're done, right? We're gonna get it. 2 years later, still couldn't get the financing together. We ended up making it for a very small budget, putting together kind of a combination of family money, private equity, different things, just to kind of make a scrappy little movie. And then we got it to Cannes, and then it was like a year and a half of trying to get it sold and recuts and things like that. So it's
the ugly part. It's the business part. It's the ugly business part.
Oh man,
you just want to make a movie.
Yeah, it's crazy because I remember the first time I had been shooting commercials. I hadn't directed. I was always DPing commercials and doing music videos and things like that. And I remember, so I was already pretty comfortable on sets. I hadn't spent a lot of time on sets. And I remember the first time I got the first call sheet for the vessel, and I had director next to my name. I mean, I teared up. It was a big deal. And so that was like kind of the most satisfying 5 weeks of my adulthood up until that point. And it was very meaningful and really beautiful experience. And then but in reality, it was like 7-8 years working on a movie where 5 or 6 weeks of it was really enjoyable. And the rest of it is just like, it's just putting together business plans and pitches and just
I know.
grind.
Welcome to the problem is they call it show business. If they
Yeah.
just called it show, then we wouldn't have to worry about any of that stuff. Now, the film is also very much a family affair because, of course, Marla produced it. And your brother, who's a marvelous actor, Lucas, I think we have a photo of Lucas. You certainly look like brothers. How wonderful that you have a good enough relationship that you can work with your brother.
Yeah, he's a super talented kid. He's also a classical jazz pianist, and I wrote the movie for him, and I kind of wrote it around his personality and everything. He was just great. So it was actually me, my wife Marla producing, Lucas's lead role. My brother Alex was the first AC on that movie, and he was Lucas's stunt double, and he was also did all the art and VFX, and it was great. Not VFX, but special effects. So it was all family. My parents were out there visiting, and Marla's parents were out there.
And there's Marla. Marla's on the right?
There's Marla on the right, yeah, and then Sarah Green on the left, who's Terry's
But that must make it kind of wonderful too, because you are surrounded by people that love you and support you and are there to make it work for you. That has to be a whole added bonus, I would think.
It is. It absolutely is. I think we now with both films, we kind of try to create a sort of family environment. I think it rubs off because and so like Thiago Benet, our cinematographer, has kind of become like he's my strongest ally, and when we're on set, and it feels like you're hanging out with brothers and cousins and sisters, and so it's a pretty nice experience. It really is.
Tell us the log line for this one as well, because this is a really kind of a horrifying story.
Yeah, so the story is it's like 10 years. It takes place 10 years after a tsunami destroyed an elementary school and killing 46 kids. And it was inspired sort of by this happened in Japan. You can see the imagery of all the backpacks in the destroyed schools and things like that. And so this is a young guy, my brother. The town has never recovered, and Martin Sheen's playing a Catholic priest who's trying to get everybody to move on, have children again, stop mourning, and he's having no luck. And then this young guy drowns, and he wakes up again 3 hours later, and it kind of sparks this whole chain of events that helps the town come together, and kind of it's implied that they moved on, but so it has magical realism, and it's funny because I think that I wrote that movie before I had any kids, and then now that I have 3 kids, I'm like, oh my god, like we wrote a movie about 40 kids being swept out to sea. So it was interesting because when I wrote it, there's so many things that you just when you're writing as an artist, you're trying to put yourself in the shoes of other people, and you're imagining things, and and so like for example, there's a scene in that movie where a woman decides she wants to get pregnant again because she had a dream that she was pregnant, and when the baby came out, like a river of water came out of her and flooded the whole town. And that was a dream that I just invented. That I didn't have kids yet. I've never experienced anything like that. But I had women tell me like, how did you know what it feels like? Like childbirth, that's what childbirth is like, or whatever. And it's an interesting thing because I feel like if you're really open and you're really kind of, if you can use your imagination of, like in Blue Miracle, I wrote a scene where Omar tells a young guy, like, it's natural for you not to remember things from your childhood because, most people remember things from photos or stories their family members tell them. But since we never had that because of orphans, we don't have those memories. And I just wrote that because I assumed I know my kids, I think my kids look at a lot of pictures and things like that. But then Jimmy Gonzalez, who played the lead, he was in foster care, and he said he was blown away that he's like, how did you know that? Because that's what actually happens. That's what happened to me. And it's so there's something. It's always satisfying when you're pushing the limits of your own experiences. But if you can imagine and really just use human nature, you can kind of sometimes you can touch things that you haven't actually experienced. And I kind of always find that surprising, actually. But anyways.
I wonder how, I'm not sure we mentioned it. The feature is called The Vessel 2016. I wonder how you would have approached it had you already had your 3 kids. I wonder how that would have changed. Do you think there were certain things, a perspective would have been handled differently, perhaps?
I don't know. Maybe because it's like Leo's mother is a major character who. Like the movie is very clearly told from the perspective of the young boy, my brother, who didn't lose a child. He lost a little brother, but he didn't lose a child. And so he's kind of frustrated that his mom won't move on, and he's frustrated that people won't move on. Perhaps if I was writing it now, I would be more inclined to write it from the perspective of somebody who lost a child, because now that's a very, so I basically wrote it from a priest's perspective and a young guy who didn't have any kids. So there's all these people in this town who lost children, and I wrote it from the perspective of 2 people who didn't actually lose children. So maybe I would have switched it to a different perspective. I don't know.
And you shot it in Puerto Rico, right? This one wasn't in Puerto Rico. And again, beautiful. I think we have a photo. Look at that. That's absolutely gorgeous. That's absolutely gorgeous. That's a march. And then we have a beautiful shot. The next one, Abelardo. Look at that. Your cinematographer is Santiago. I want to talk to him to you about him at one point, but it's beautiful. And then one more of look at that. It's so lush. It's so beautifully done. You shot it in English and Spanish, but it wasn't that you had, a few lines of English, a few of Spanish. You shot a Spanish version and an English language version at the same time. Are you mad?
Yeah, I don't know. It was crazy because we thought, because I thought the most authentic version would be Spanish, but our investors and Martin Sheen thought we needed to have an English version, so for the U.S. market. So I figured just hire all bilingual actors and we'll just do both. And so we did. And actually shooting it wasn't so bad. Like it was, because if everybody's bilingual, once you get the scene in one language, I would just switch back and forth sometimes in the middle of take, and it kind of kept it fresh. And for some reason they were able to really nail it pretty quickly. So it's usually just 1 or 2 extra takes in another language. The editing was a nightmare.
I was going to say that had to be insane. You had a scene and then you might do it in Spanish right at that moment, and then something else in English. Oh my God.
Yeah, and also because I didn't have an editor for the longest time. At the very end, a couple of friends came and helped me out. But so I essentially did the editing myself, and I'm not an editor. I didn't have the muscles for that. I had edited short films and music videos and things like that. But so the editing the entire English version, and then stopping and then having to go back and re-edit the entire movie again was pretty rough. So it's a weird thing though, because what we thought, we assumed all the English version would go to all the English language countries, and probably the Spanish version would go to the Spanish countries and everywhere else. We thought everybody else would want the Spanish version. And what ended up happening was we would get all kinds of weird, like the art house theaters in the US would want the Spanish version because they thought that felt more authentic. And then some, like even in Puerto Rico and other Spanish-speaking countries, they wanted the English version because for them, American movies there's a prestige to the American film that it somehow feels more, I don't know. It was crazy.
And then each, of course, is subtitled, right?
And they're both subtitled, yeah. They're both subtitled. And then we would send, and then in Spain, they could have just played the Spanish version, but they took the English version and dubbed it with their own Spanish. And so it was just madness. I don't think I wouldn't do that again. It didn't seem to. I don't know if it helped us at all, but it was an interesting experiment. Maybe I would do it if if a studio wanted to roll it out in a more structured way. But our release was so we just did everything ourselves, so it was very difficult to keep track of what was going where.
Oh my God, that sounds really deep. I don't know if I can deal with that. Tell me about Santiago Mari, your cinematography. Where he did both The Vessel and Blue Miracle, right?
Yeah, I met him. So Chago, we decided to shoot in Puerto Rico, and we knew we needed Puerto Rican crews. And I had always worked in Texas at that point, And I had been doing cinematography, so I didn't really know. I had never worked with other cinematographers, so I didn't have any connect. I didn't have anybody I was committed to at that point. So I was given a list of all the best cinematographers in Puerto Rico, and Chago was the youngest one, but his naturalism was this, because I came from, the Malick camp with, and Chivo Lubeski, and, watching those guys are as good as anybody. And so for me, naturalism was a big thing. And Chago just has that. I mean, his lighting is amazing. I never have to tell him, like, can you pan up a hair, or can you tilt up a hair, or can you pan a little left? He just has a natural, his background actually is in theater. And so he studied theater before he did cinematography. So
right, he did dance, theater and dance, lighting designer.
Yes, that's right. And his father is a theater lighting technician. And so he actually, when he's working handheld with the actors, he's dancing with them. I mean, he's interacting with them in a way that's really organic. And so he's amazing. He's on the first movie, it was sort of trying to figure out what we both like, because that was his first feature as well. And then, but on Blue Miracle, it was like we didn't have to talk about that. We picked the lens. We knew what lens we wanted most of the time already, and we knew more. So, I feel like my responsibility to him, and it was the same feeling I have for the actors, is to try to create an environment for them to be able to do their best work and remove as many obstructions as possible. So, so with Chago, it's a matter of making sure that I give him good production design, cast interesting faces. I don't do white walls with the windows. I always found there's always lots of texture and always windows and stuff. So it's a really great. I'm a visually inclined director, and he's an acting friendly cinematographer. So I think it's a really great match. Yeah.
Yeah. Is Marla floating about? Did she get the 3? You have 3 kids under the age of 6?
Yeah, they're 5.5, 4, and 2. But they're let me grab. You want her to come in?
Yeah.
Okay, let me grab her.
Oh my God, 3 kids under 6. I can't even. That's why I've just always had potted plants. It's so much easier. Yeah, she would. I thought she'd be nearby.
She's I should have given her a 2-minute warning, but she's coming.
What do you have coming up? What's next on your docket? Do you already have another film planned?
No, it definitely got. I'm getting sent every Underdog Latinos Are Good at Stuff movie.
Hi, Marla.
Hi, how are you?
Well, you look lovely. You don't look like you just wrangled 3 kids to bed. Wow. I can't even imagine. It's a good thing you guys are young,
Yeah, they keep us busy for sure.
Yeah,
it's so beautiful to see a collaborative effort with husband and wife. There are teams out there, but that's a very special thing. And then the brother involved, and is very much a family affair, it seems. And I would think that would be quite lovely to be doing projects, and as I said to him earlier, to have people around you who love you and support you, and they're there to make your dream come true. And P.S. have the talent to do it. It's not like your uncle who runs a gas station or anything. So do you have, when you first met, you had like visions of what you wanted to do and what kinds of films you wanted to make, I would assume, or no? Did you have to train him? You had to train him?
No, I was actually I was going to go be a lawyer. I was on a pre-law track, and Julio proposed to me the year before I was going to go to law school. And he was like, just take a year off, after we get married, so that, we'll probably get a divorce if you're going to law school, in our first year of marriage. And
which is true.
And I agreed. So I was like, all right, I'll take a year off. And in that year, he was like, well, why don't you come produce like a couple of short films here and there? I produced a couple of his shorts, and then he just kind of whittled me down, and I'm still here.
Got her.
That's funny. Oh my God, that's hilarious. So you really didn't, you just jumped into the film world.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't study it in college. I just kind of learned by trade.
Wow. I was asking him if you had another film in your mind already that are you writing something else already?
Yeah, I got a couple different things I'm sort of developing. I think it's interesting because obviously these 2 movies are very different in genre, and so the overwhelming success of Blue Miracle is obviously attracting a lot of those sorts of movies. And so I'm trying to figure out, I feel like, The Vessel was kind of the full art house film, and then Blue Miracle is the full family kind of traditional inspiring movie. And so I'm trying to find my way into the middle here and see if I can merge the things I've learned from both. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to, I do have a few things. I haven't decided which one I'm going to jump into yet. So, and some of them are things that are brought to me, and some things I'm just kind of writing. So,
and are you particularly attracted to true incidents that you can then, like the tooth and like the vessel and Blue Miracle, or something can come totally out of your head? I'm sure.
Yeah, not really. Actually, I think I'm actually more excited about potentially doing something that's, I think I kind of want to do something mythological or something just kind of out of my dark psyche and see what happens. So
now you're Cuban-American. Your family came here from Cuba when you were very, very small and moved to Alaska. I have no idea why. And then continued to move over 10 years and all those different cultures. You were in California, you were in Kentucky. And I would imagine that would certainly have given you a more universal look at the world, as opposed to people who just grow up in one town from, that must have influenced you.
Yeah, I think I had a similar upbringing. She did as well. I was born in California. My dad worked in an oil company. That's why I moved a lot. And so I was born in California, moved to Alaska for 6 years, back to California, then Louisiana, and then to Texas. And she lived in Louisiana and then moved to Texas as well. We met in Texas. So I feel like it's kind of given us a sense, it's like we have our roots and our culture. She's Colombian, her family, she was born in Colombia. And so it's like, I know she feels Colombian-ish and I feel Cuban-ish, but we also had this weird hybrid where like kind of the only constants in our life over time was our siblings. And so in some ways I do feel a bit of I don't feel like I have roots in a specific place, and I feel like you kind of always have to adapt and learn a different culture, and and maybe that contributed to kind of broadening how I my idea of how I said the way I can see psychology, or the way social analysis, maybe because I always had to every couple of years I would be thrown into a totally different place and had to figure out how this one works. And
Marla, I'm so sorry. Marla, your family moved around a lot as well?
We didn't move it around as much as he did. We went from a little island, off the coast of Colombia to southern Louisiana, and we were there for 10 years, and then we moved to Texas. Mm-hmm. So we didn't move around quite as much as he did.
What was the little island?
Yeah, a little island called San Andres.
I have been to San Andres.
You have not.
Not only have I been there, I was there in the 70s.
Wow. I was born there in 82.
Wow. I always like exotic travel, and I wanted to go somewhere. I was living in New York at the time, and I didn't want to go to Puerto Rico. Everybody went to Puerto Rico. And I saw this little island, and I saw it. And at that time, literally, there was like one flight a week. All there was to San Andres. And I went with a friend, and it was lovely, but it was like there was nothing really, which was what I liked. I didn't want to go to it. But the flight, I remember going to the hotel, which was nice. It was like, I think, the only hotel. And I went to take a shower, and it was freezing, and I indignantly called in my pocho Spanish, "Oye, no hay agua caliente." And he goes, no tenemos agua caliente aquí en el.
Yeah, what are you thinking?
And I'm like, what? And they had these things, the ones on the roof, and the water was in there. So you had to shower in the afternoon because the sun was beating down, warming the water all day. And that was San Andres. So when you said an island, I thought, no, it can't be San Andres.
Wow.
Yes.
Incredible.
Yeah.
My dad used to work like shipping plantains from the island to the, to Colombia, to the mainland. Yeah.
Because it's small. I mean, it's very small, as I recall.
Very small. It's very, very small.
Wow. What are the chances?
That's crazy.
How many people have you met who've been to San Andres?
0.
Everyone saw somebody who's heard of it, but I never heard anybody.
I can't even think of people who've heard of it.
It's like Colombians too.
Yeah,
Colombians are like, oh yeah. But they never go there.
But it was interesting because they had a rather international group, as it were, because I remember they take you on, you could rent a launch, and they would take you to a key. that was, so small, you could literally walk around it in 20 minutes with the whitest, softest sand ever. And there would be a lady there with this big cauldron boiling oil. And then you'd want to eat, and they'd go out, they'd get a fish and they chop it up and they throw it in there, quick fry it, put it in a paper plate, little salt, a lime, and a beer. You were in heaven. And they'd literally drop you off and pick you up 3 or 4 hours later. And I remember befriending a gentleman who was from Japan, and he was dealing in pearls, and he was in San Andres as well. So it was a very, that's funny. That's funny.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I haven't actually been back since I was 4 years old.
And I thought about the island. I thought, there's probably a McDonald's on that key now where that lovely lady was doing her thing. It's getting harder to find those kinds of places, as we know,
Yeah, it's like a much bigger tourist destination.
Are you getting action from the Netflix screening? I mean, are other people, discovering it and, maybe getting other gigs out of it?
Yeah, it's I'm getting calls from people I haven't seen, and old friends from when I was in middle school in Louisiana, like, hey, I just saw this movie and I said Julio Quintana at the end. Is that you? And it's like, yeah, that's me. So I'd say we're getting stuff. We know people in Colombia, Argentina, Guatemala, Spain, Morocco, and it keeps they're all forwarding us messages that they're getting from people who just randomly. So it's been nice. It's an interesting experience because it's a very simple movie, and so but it just seems to be the kind of thing that people really want right after this year we just had, I guess. That seems to be the theme we keep hearing. Say thank you for giving us something, something kind of nice and uplifting, inspiring. So it's been nice. Yeah, I'm glad. You always want people to see the work and appreciate some capacity. So it's been good. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much. I know we had a technical difficulty with getting some of the questions in, but I think we have a couple from Facebook. Abelardo, do we have something?
Sure. Hi. Great to meet you.
Have you ever been in San Andres, Abelardo?
I've never been outside of California, Texas, Washington. I've been to Miami.
Nice.
That doesn't count. That doesn't count.
Oh, yeah.
They have fried fish.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We have one of our frequent viewers, who Holly Lynn Purser, who's just saying that she has to see these movies. So we could see one of them on Netflix right now, but how about The Vessel? Where can people be able to view that one?
Yeah, you can rent it on iTunes or Amazon Prime. I think it's like $5 or something. So yeah, either one of those.
All right. And then also you spoke about how your travels have informed, Alaska, California, Texas, and so on, how they've informed your worldview. But how about your Cuban-American or your Cubano heritage? How's that informed the choices that you make and the way that you've been able to express it via the cinema?
I mean, it's hard to say, but I would imagine that both of the stories, and it seems like everything I'm developing is all related. It's all tied into kind of family dynamics. And so my Cuban family is huge, and we're all, so I'm used to, for me, everything is about my relationships with my brothers and my wife and my cousins so maybe, and both of them are set in Latin America. And for me, it's kind of weird. I can't, even though I lived in the suburbs at different points in my life, I can't really imagine writing a movie just in the suburbs for some reason. So there's something about Latin America and the superstitions and the mythology and all that Latin America is known for, that it just permeates everything I'm interested in. So I don't know. It's hard to say from I don't know.
I think it's definitely a subconscious thing, that is woven into all of his ideas.
And then it's hard to distinguish between the Cuban heritage and the Catholic influence, and because those two are intertwined, and so it's just good growing up with. It's like everything was family gatherings. Somebody ends up making all the kids do a rosary, and the kids going getting bored, and then what's going on. But so there's things that are just intertwined with. I can't separate the smell of incense from the smell of arepas or whatever. Everything is all kind of mixed up. So I'm not totally sure.
All right, thank you. From Pam Lopez Gallardo, did you feel creative during the pandemic? She's saying, I personally felt brain dead. How about yourself?
I it's funny because we had the thing is we had quarantine with I had my parents here and we had my 3 children, and we moved a little bit outside the city. So we had a house with a couple of acres that we kind of spread out and go outside. So I had brothers, for example, who live in New York. They moved to New York right before the quarantine. They were losing their minds. But we felt, I was in post on Blue Miracle, and I was able to kind of almost basically lock the cut right before we had to start quarantining. And so then I was working on the music for the film and the sound mix and the color correction and the VFX. So I personally had something to focus on, and as things I just had to deal with every day. I just had to do them over Zoom most of the time. So for me, it didn't, if I hadn't had that, I don't know if I could have sat down and written a screenplay from scratch or something, but because I had something with deadlines and people are all counting on me and things, that was enough to kind of keep me focused and creative, I think.
All right. And how was it working with one of your cinematic heroes, Terrence Malick? Were you intimidated? Were you just in awe, or how did that work out?
I think working with him is a strong statement. It's like you're just a little like a meteor kind of passing by the sun, and you absorb the rays. But it's not like I took from him certain philosophies, certain mindsets. But it's and I contributed whenever, it would take me 100 hours of effort to get a shot of some bubbles in the movie or something. So it was. So I think it was. I got more from him than he even realizes, and so I think. For me, it was more like it was a mind expanding experience of what cinema could be and what kind of ideas you can actually explore. It just completely, like Tree of Life, just completely changed what was possible for me. Even though Tarkovsky and different people had already, people had done those sorts of things, but not with the star of Fight Club and not right in front of me. So to actually witness it happen from start to finish was just shocking for me. So. And so, it was a real blessing, and it's a debt I can't ever repay to him. So, yeah.
All right, and here's one for the both of you. Are you ready to go back into the movie theaters?
Yeah, that sounds great. We did it. We went and saw Tenet in theaters. There was only 3 people there, I think, it was. I think you just the smell of the motor oil they put on the popcorn or whatever it is. It's just like it's pretty nostalgic. We used to do it all the time, and then we started doing it less when we had kids. But then not doing it for almost a year and a half or something. Right? It was it sounds nice. Sounds nice to get back to it.
You know what? I think some of that has to do with where you are, because let me tell you, going to Sedona to the film festival is the first time I've been anywhere other than the supermarket, the hardware store, and CVS pharmacy. I took wipes and I took gloves. I took about 47 masks, and I'm not going to touch the plane. And I'm going to make sure. It was like I got on the plane, I sat there, I was sitting there. You had to wear, of course, the mask on the plane. But in Sedona, most people aren't even wearing masks. I mean, they were hit very lightly, but nonetheless, nobody was wearing masks. And I went to the hotel room and I thought, I'm sure they cleaned it. And, I suddenly, it was like it had never happened. And yet here in LA, I still, I don't touch this, I'm not doing the elbow, but all of a sudden it's Sedona, and I'm going to be careful at the parties. I'm just, how are you? It was it was so bizarre. And I kept saying, I can't believe you're doing this, but I did. And I felt perfectly comfortable.
Well, so it's interesting. Yeah, it's it's interesting point, because you realize how much, that's just another example of how much even something that, like a virus, our response and our perception of it is completely cultural, and we influence each other so much. So I think that's fascinating. That it's not just that there are different cultures and different pockets of people in the world. Like, we're different people depending on what we're surrounded by and what's the prevalent culture. And so, that's actually sort of a thing. You guys kind of what I'm interested in at this point, and I actually think that a big thing that I'm more and more fascinated by is I feel like the division that we feel, you know, kind of around the world and specifically in this country, I think is a big problem. And us having kind of known, being parts of so many different cultures, I feel like if there's just, I feel a specific calling to try to put out stories that can help sort of bridge the, and heal some of the divisions, because I think that a lot of the miscommunication, I think a lot of the things that we consider the other side to be evil about are they're based on miscommunications and literally just being immersed in a totally different environment, you know. So anyways, yeah, that's fascinating that happened.
But what you're saying is Luis Valdez just the other day, and I pulled out a quote where he said, you know, he loves entertainment, but he believes in entertainment with a purpose.
Yeah.
And that's what you're saying. I mean, you can make a film about whatever, but it's really great if there's a purpose and if you can educate and you can, I mean, you know, and that's the best way to do it. People don't realize they're being educated. They're just seeing a story. And of course you can change their mind about anything that there is. So yeah, I mean, that's the great gift, that we can entertain and change someone's mind and help with social justice or whatever is your particular journey. But yeah, it's entertainment with a purpose.
Yeah, I think the most powerful way to do it, I think what really changes people's minds is when you empathize because you feel like you can put yourself in their shoes. And I think that's the real power that cinema has, is that when it's done well, you experience what the characters on screen are experiencing. So if I can figure out a way to do that in a way that makes somebody understand somebody that they despise or that they're resentful of or whatever, I think it feels like an important goal. I don't think I have anything to teach anybody, but I do think that it'd be nice to help if people could just hate each other a little less.
And you're also showing the commonalities as opposed to our differences. You know, why does a movie like, why did La Bamba, was it such a huge hit? You know, a Mexican-American rock and roller who died, and, you know, and especially, you know, it's 35 years ago. Yeah. I said to Luis, I'm amazed it even got greenlit. I mean, come on. And then it was this huge hit, you know, but it was a story of two brothers. I mean, we are all the same after all, whatever it is we eat or what we wear or what we say or what language we speak. And that's what confuses me, and why we just can't get our shit together. I don't understand it. I honestly don't. So do a film about that. Do a film about that.
Well, that's what I was saying. So when I studied all the different religions, I realized like there's all these people that hate each other for different ideologies, but to me, I can see this common thread that should unite them. And now for the first time in my adult life, I'm seeing a lot of those tendencies not having anything to do with religion, but having to do with politics or the fact that masks are a political divide. I don't understand how that's, you know, so I think I would love to figure out how to get past those things, and that starts with me and her and us. We try to understand all sides of all things. I feel like it starts on the individual level, and then that, if we can understand where everybody's coming from, then maybe there's a way to get that across in the stories we're telling.
Absolutely, I think that's an excellent way to end this lovely conversation.
All right, perfect.
Thank you both so much. Next time you have to bring the kids on, because I want to see those three little rascals. It's 3 boys? What is it?
It's 2 boys and a girl. Yeah, they're running around out there. You can get them better. They're running around.
They're awake at 10 p.m.
Something's probably on fire right now.
Thank you so much, Julio. I appreciate it. Marla, I'm delighted to meet you, especially since we have this connect. We had a serious connect, right?
Yes, it's incredible.
I'm going to dig up a photo of me in my early years in San Andres. And see
Please
do. All right. Thank you both very much.
And thank you.
Thank you both so much for joining us, and you too, Dan. I've just noticed that the past few En Casa con la Plaza happy hours with Dan have been couples. The best parts have been with couples. Evelina Fernandez and Jose Luis Valenzuela. Luis Valdez and his wife. Well, I'm sorry, I forgot her name. And also Perla Batalla and her husband, Claude. So I think we need to start co-billing rather than,
I don't want them to get uppity. I don't want them to get, but look, I look, people can look up IMDb and look up your bios. I like people to get to know the person, and that's why I bring on a spouse or thing. I don't do it all the time, but I think it works. So anyway, thank you both very much.
Thanks,
See
guys.
ya.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
All right, we'll see
Abelardo.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Thank you, Dan. All your travels, thank you for joining us here in Casa con la Plaza, Dan Guerrero Happy Hour. If you caught just part of this program or you want to see it again, please join us on our YouTube page at La Plaza LA. On our Facebook, it lives on Facebook at La Plaza LA, and also on our website, lapca.org. And all of Dan's happy hours with all of his great guests, including Josefina Lopez, Chich Marin, Eduardo Diaz, Charo, Luis Perez, Lucy Arnez. They're all on our YouTube page. Just look for the Dan Guerrero playlist. All right, so what do we have in store for En Casa con la Plaza next week? Well, on Monday, we do have an encore performance. Monday, of course, we have our cooking demonstrations. So toasted coconut horchata, just in time for these hot days. It's an encore with Esteban Castillo, the author of Chicano Eats, and it's a good one. So I encourage all of you to tune in next Monday, June 21st at 3 p.m. On Wednesday, June 23rd, we get a little heavy at 7 o'clock with Professor Armando Vázquez Ramos from the California Mexico Studies Center, who'll be talking about the future of dreamers in the U.S. Of course, with the Trump administration, things weren't looking too good, but now with Biden slowly getting back into perhaps making some legislative changes to give the opportunity for these dreamers to work, study, and pursue their dream of a better life in America. And then finally, on Friday, the return of Beto Arcos, our incredibly just knowledgeable music journalist and author, who will be interviewing Sergio Checo Alonso, an educator, scholar, multi-instrumentalist. Most notably, he's the harpist for Mariachi Los Camperos de Naticano. So that's next Friday, 7 o'clock, here on En Casa con la Plaza. As I stated before, La Plaza de Cultura y Artes is reopened. You could check out our lapca.org to check the new times, but basically from Wednesday through Monday, from noon to 5. No need to make reservations. No social distancing. You gotta maybe follow the stickers on the floor to just find out where you're going. And but please, and also we do ask you to wear your mask. But if you don't want to even come in, just cruise by and you could check out Only Light Can Do That, the neon mural by Patrick Martinez. That's it for tonight's En Casa con la Plaza. Tomorrow we have En Familia con la Plaza at 10:30 a.m. Which is it's first shown on our YouTube channel at La Plaza LA. And what's going on tomorrow? I'm just checking out the little music there. But En Familia tomorrow, it's soil painting. So let's figure out what that's about and join in. You could they'll give you instructions of how to do this wonderful workshop, along with last week's mango peach ice cream, poblano pepper planting, and so on. These are workshops meant for the whole family. They are on our YouTube channel at La Plaza LA. Then we also repost them on our Facebook and of course on our website, LAPCA. Thank you all for joining in. I'm glad that we're finally getting out of this pandemic. Things are normalizing. If you're vaccinated, congratulations. If you haven't decided to do it yet, now's the time to make us all safe and get us back to a different normal, but normal nonetheless. So buenas noches a todos. We'll see you soon. Hasta la próxima. Adiós.